book of questions as well.
Ah, what do you mean, a big book of questions?
It's not a big book. It's just a few. Just a few. A few little questions. See, these are questions just I'd be mad to know, because I often do wonder.
What kind of questions?
Well, sure. I suppose we'll start at the beginning. What's your name? Father Brian Griffin.
Yes.
Do you watch Family Guy?
No, hate it.
Have you? But you know where this line of questions go.
I went to the bank when I was working there a few years ago, and I gave the young fella behind the counter, and I gave him my card, and he started laughing. And he looked at me and he said, have you seen Family Guy? And I said, no. And he said, you need to watch Family Guy. So I went home and I Googled Family Guy, and up came...
The white dog.
Yeah, Brian Griffin. And yeah, I thought it was funny, but then I watched an episode and it's just that bad American humor. It's just not... I don't find it funny.
It's Seth MacFarlane is the kind of guy, he's always poking at the establishment, but then his jokes, how they get away with it is beyond me.
How do you get away with it, David?
Well, I don't think I do anything really that bad. Well, you can tell me whether morally what I do is bad or good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I brought you a present. Okay.
Oh, this is
the week before Christmas.
Impromptu.
Okay? David nearly killed the priest bringing them down here on a cold night like this.
Sorry about that.
Okay. So first thing first, you have to put that on. Okay.
A Christmas hat?
Yeah, Christmas hat. And I got one to match the uniform.
You got a black Christmas hat?
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Oh, the hat. Look, it doesn't fit the oak. I know what I'm going to do. Look, I'll sort this out. Because it's too cool not to put on. Where'd you get the black one?
Oh, let's do it.
Where'd you get the black one?
In the clerical shop.
There's no such thing as a clerical shop.
I have to take this off.
Yeah, take them off. Is there a clerical shop?
Yeah.
Where a priest can go get stuff?
Yeah.
That's not true, is it? It suits you.
Where do you think we get the clothes from?
Do you get sent them or do you buy them?
Pardon?
Do you get sent your clothes? Like,
no, you have to buy them.
You buy them yourselves?
Yeah, you have to buy them. Anyway, look, I know you love Christmas. I was up in your house today.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome.
It is.
And if I was Santa,
yeah,
and I was doing the rounds and I came down your chimney, I don't think I'd go any further. I'd just stay there. And it was just, I mean, he doesn't have, how many trees? I counted 4 trees.
There's 4 trees, yeah.
4 trees.
Yeah.
And you have these massive life-size dolls.
But don't forget, Vicky does that.
Oh, I thought they were your dolls.
Well, I pay for them, so technically they're mine. But Vicky loves Christmas.
Okay, well, I didn't think you were into dolls now, but...
No, I'm not.
But, huh?
I'm not into dolls.
There's 2 big dolls in your hallway.
They're life-size Santa Clauses. Getting into the festive
they're a bit
spirit.
Freaky now.
They are freaky. They are.
Mrs. Claus doesn't look right.
No.
I mean,
no.
I was expecting Chucky, from Child's Play.
Chucky, yeah,
to come running out any minute. But anyway, so I was in Portlaoise today in the toy shop getting presents for my nephews and nieces, and I saw this, and I thought of you.
Oh, you bought this for me?
Bought that for you.
Can I open it?
Yeah, and I hope you have you enjoy playing it over the holidays.
I have to open this now. Could you have got a harder one to... Oh my God. Think fast and slap faster in this quick-handed card game. Slapping in the face.
Yeah.
So is that you wanting to slap me in the face?
Yeah. You see, when I was young, if we were bold
in
school, we got a slap. Okay? And at home, there was always the threat of the wooden spoon. Had you a wooden spoon in your house?
There was a stick.
Really?
There was a stick out. Mammy would always threaten to get this stick out of the ditch. But she never ever got it.
Oh, we were more sophisticated. We had a wooden spoon and we never got it. We were threatened with it. All right?
Yeah.
So, I've heard you're bold. I mean, I'm just looking at the placemat here. Look at the word on that. I mean, look at that.
That's the crow.
Yeah. And I've heard you do rude things and you're crude and you're offensive to some people, saying some things, not you, but the things you say and do.
Am I offensive to you?
But I don't follow you. I don't know what you do.
Well, that's a good start.
Well, look there.
We'll put
that's enough for me, all right?
That's enough for you?
Yeah.
Show me that, son.
So
I'll put that over to my side.
So because you're bold, I'm giving you a metaphorical slap. All right.
Well, I can take that. I can take a metaphorical
We can
slap.
have a game now if you want. Like.
No, we won't have a game now.
Are you sure?
Yeah. We'll have a game later. A game
Okay.
later. I live very near you, so you can come up at any time.
Yeah. Okay.
And we played that game, but we played hardcore. Like, we used to play this game when we used to go out and we used to slap each other across the face. It's not a good game.
Who's we?
Me and my friends when we were younger.
Okay.
It's a
Good.
different time now, though.
All right. Okay. And I got another game for you.
Another one.
Yeah, I just thought this was hilarious. I mean, I couldn't believe when I saw this. I couldn't believe it. Now, wait till you see this. This is just.
Is this for me as well?
We'll fight over it, okay?
I feel guilty because I never got you any gifts. I'm gonna have to tear into town tomorrow and get you.
Don't worry
gifts.
about that. No.
Let's
But,
see what this.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, just have a look.
The Exorcist card game. That's a game.
I couldn't believe it. Like,
That's actually after
come here and
me
look.
as well.
Look, open it. Look.
I didn't know
Look what's in it. It's crazy stuff. Like,
the Exorcist card game. I have to see the cards.
they're really weird.
They are really weird, is right.
And look, and it says here, this is what you have to do when you're playing. So I'm the priest, right?
Yeah.
And you're the possessed, obviously.
Obviously.
So before I play a card, I have to hold the crucifix card close to your face, and I have to say, "Cogit potentiam Christi tui," which means
Where'd you get that game?
the power of Christ compels you.
Where'd you get the game?
In the toy shop.
Is that blasphemous?
Is that blasphemous? No, it's just weird.
That is weird. I have to say, I've never seen that before. That is weird.
Yeah,
and it
that's
even
weird.
has little things for holding the cards. Look. Well, we won't be playing the Exorcist game.
This is the world we're living in.
We won't be playing the Exorcist game.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you now, I do want to ask you a few questions.
Okay, off you go.
All right. You're from Wexford, yeah?
It doesn't say Camross, okay?
Kilkenny.
And you know the children up in the school
Think that's the cameras.
they think it's a camera, and I get off of slagging over it. I really do, but it's the same color.
You're the priest over Camross and Castletown.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. And
And-
do you know the rivalry that's there, or was?
I do. I've seen a few videos of Castletown and Camross in action over the years.
What do you think of that?
It was more boxing, I think, than
It
hurling.
was rough,
The
all right.
parts I saw.
But now that you're here, it's all
We're
gonna be
all the
sorted.
one.
We're all the one.
We're all the one. We're all the same in God's eyes.
Where in Kilkenny did you grow up?
South Kilkenny, little village called Schlievrew, right across the bridge from Waterford. It's only about 2 miles from Waterford City.
And big family?
Yeah, well, 5. I'm the pig in the middle.
All-
Older brother, older sister, and 2 younger sisters.
And you were right in the middle?
Yep. Yeah.
And
So they all got spoiled, and I was.
really, were you just not... Were you working? Were you farmers? Were you living in town?
No. My father was a fitter in Clover Meats, a factory down in well, it's closed a long time ago now, but in a factory in Ferrybank, just outside Waterford.
Know it well.
And my mother had the greatest profession of them all. She was a housewife.
Very good.
Yeah.
And what was it like growing up?
Great. Really, really great.
Did-
I mean, our whole life revolved. It kind of reminds me of Castletown and Camross now. Like it revolved all around the parish and the community. So, like I went to school in Schlievrew. We did everything in Schlievrew. That's where everything was. You know, we didn't need to go to Waterford for anything, only for the shopping maybe once a week. But no, it was great upbringing.
And were you close to any particular sibling? Did you grow up in groups, pairs,
No. You see, you came from a huge family. I had
Mm.
only 5, so like we were all.
different?
Well, there's only a year between us all, so we were all kind of grew up together, you know. And we were lucky because my dad had a family 11, and most of our cousins lived around us as well. So like we lived in our cousins' houses, and they lived in our house, and there was an open door policy.
Yeah.
So it was. I'm sure yours was the same.
Hmm.
You know,
And what was school like?
I love school.
Were you good in it?
And I was okay, like, but I was more into reading, I suppose, than sports. So I remember when I was in primary school, it was very strange back then. Like the orders, like the De La Salle brothers and the Carmelites, and I didn't know who these people were. But back then, and it was a very strange, in hindsight, a very strange thing to do. They used to go around to the schools, and they used to ask the children, anyone interested in a vocation or becoming a priest. So
At what age were the children at this time?
Oh, sure, I suppose I was only about 10.
Oh, that's very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I must have been 12. I mean, it wouldn't have been right or proper. But anyway, I remember they came to, I mean, I was typical childhood, off enjoying myself. But I always remember they came into the school once, and they were asking, was anybody interested in, becoming a priest? And of course, my hand shot up into the air, and thinking that half the class would do the same. Now, you're going back now. This is going back.
What year, roughly?
Oh, back 1975, I would say.
Right.
So my hand shot up in the air, and looked around. It was the only hand that was up in the air. So I said, I always thought, well, why have I an interest in this and nobody else has? But anyway, my hand shot up in the air, and they said, grand. They took my name and address and said they'd be called to the house to see me. And they did. They called to the house the next day. When I got home, I realized that I didn't really want to do this. Like, I was much too young. Because, back then you went straight from school to the De La Salle brothers.
Primary school?
Yeah. You went to secondary school. Like, for example, Kieran's College in Kilkenny. Most of the guys that went in there, the hope was that they would continue on from secondary school and go to the seminary.
All right, okay.
To study to be a priest. Okay? And it would have been the same with the Carmelites or the De La Salle brothers. So anyway, when I got home, I realized, Jane Mac, I'm only 12 years of age, 10 or 12 years of age. I'm much too young for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I told my mother, look, there's going to be these priests calling, and they're going to, want to know, am I interested in going? And I have no interest at all. And I remember my mother saying, look, don't worry about it. I look after it. So the doorbell rang, and she said, quick, get in under the stairs. So I got in under the stairs, and she just went out, and she said to them, look, he's too young and he's not interested. And that was the end of that. So, but it was always always at the back of my mind, to be a priest.
Really? And so when you left primary school and you went to secondary school, what was that like? What was like? Was it just, you obviously weren't thinking about the priesthood then?
No. It just went, after that incident, it just went out of my head.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. And but I always was envious of the fellas who went to school in De La Salle and Mount Sion, Christian Brothers or the De La Salle, because I always felt that they were getting a much better education than I would. So like we didn't have a choice. We went to the Tech in Sleeverow. It was the local school. It was just up the road. And I was really, really lucky because when I went into secondary school, I think there was only about 15 in the class. And when I went, after most people left and got a trade after the intercert, as it was known then, and then I decided I'd go on and do the leaving. And sure, there was only 4 of us doing the leaving. So here I was getting you could say a private education in Sleeverow, whereas had I gone to the other schools, I would have just been one among hundreds, really. So school was great. The Tech in Sleeverow was
What were your favourite subjects in school?
Technical drawing. But we had a priest who used to teach us religion, Father Moore. He's now down in Piltown, and he was only newly ordained, and he's a young man, and he was really cool, and he would have made an impression, I suppose, on me. And
were your family religious? Did you grow up in a religious household?
Exact same as your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Mass on Sundays. We were marched to confraternity some Sunday evenings. I still don't know what confraternity is. It's so long since I went to it. But we'd be going mad because you'd want to be watching Little House on the Prairie or the Waltons or something on telly, and you'd have to give up to go there. But look, we went up, and we didn't mind because that's where you met your cousins and that's where you met your friends, and it was great fun. It was great fun. So, but becoming a priest just wasn't an issue then because of, you get wrapped up in school, you get wrapped up in what you're doing as a young fella. So no, didn't even think about
when you were doing your leaving cert, what was the plan in your head? What was your plan?
Hadn't a clue.
Just doing your leaving cert.
Try
and get
back then. There was a recession in Ireland. There was no work. Most people either got a trade or they emigrated. So, I mean, in hindsight, looking back, you're talking back in 1982. There was no jobs, so I had to decide what I was going to do. And very few people went to college back then. You had to have money to go to college because it was expensive. So we were lucky. In Waterford, we had a technical college. So my dad said to me, would you not consider doing something to do with computers? Because that's the up and coming thing. Really, I wanted to be a draftsman or an architect. But there was no work. There was no work for draftsmen back then, and they were poorly paid. So I said, look, I'll go and do industrial computing, which is what I did in the college in Waterford. And it was great.
What age were you then? 16?
16.
17?
16.
That was young to be...
You see, the world was very small back then. Like, you know, we had lived in a kind of in a bubble out in Slieve where everything revolved around the community.
And did you move to Waterford then? Or come home every night?
Oh, sure, it was only 3 miles out the road.
Oh, yeah.
On my bike. Cycle to college every day. And it was great because it was a real eye-opener because, like, suddenly you were in the big city and you're meeting
new people.
And, like, funny enough, the two guys I made friends with were 2 Muslims who were over from Jordan to study engineering, Majdi Hamid and Hassan El Amoudi. So suddenly you're finding that the world is much bigger than Slieve Roo. You know, there's other religions and there's other people and
ways of thinking, ways of
life.
life.
And there's girls, and it was just awesome. Like it was great.
And how long did you do that course for?
Did it for 2 years. Did well. The fallout rate was huge because people did it and they didn't know what it was about. Industrial computing was more electronics. You know, it was all about programming, electronics, and things like that. And whereas I did enjoy it, I didn't want to spend the rest of my life sitting at a computer programming.
Did you know that when you were doing
it? Yes.
But you were just going with the flow?
Well, there was no point giving up. It was only 2 years. So why not get the qualification and then see what happens? So like about 40 people started the course, only 10 finished. I was one of the 10 and there was no work. One fella out of the 10 got a job. So what to do next? Remember I was interested in being a priest. And I said, nah, I'm enjoying myself too much here. So I said, well, look, you always want to be a draftsman. Go back and study to be a draftsman. So I went back to the same college and did another 2 years of production engineering. And production engineering, for anybody who doesn't know, is the study of, it involves some drawing because it's a study of factories, how the raw materials come in, how the finished product gets shipped out, how you make the stuff as efficiently as possible. And I just found that really, really interesting. I did a test later on in years to find out what kind of a brain I had, and it's an analytical. So I'd be very logical and everything has to follow the steps and so on and so forth. So that fed into
all
this.
The boxes.
Yeah, ticked all the boxes for me, and I really, really loved it. And this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And
I studied that for 2 years, and I did really well, and I was offered a job at the end of it.
Cool. Doing where?
In a factory in Waterford, and in an engineering shop, drilling holes all day, every day, on a CNC machine. So on 2 shifts. So here I was all day, every day.
So you took that job?
I took it. There was no other option.
Did it pay well?
No, £84 a week.
At the time, that wouldn't have been bad.
No, it was bad.
Was it?
Oh yeah, it was. £84, and no, it was grand, like, but you wouldn't. I mean, you'd be saving a long time to buy a car on that. By the time you earn your keep or whatever. So I did that for a year, and I remember after 2 months saying, "Look, I'm going to do this for a year, And if I'm still doing it after a year, if I don't see any other opportunities, I'm going to leave it and do something else, because I didn't want to spend my life doing that. Now, I work with guys who just love that kind of work, and fair dues to them. You know, they're still doing it and they still love it, but it wasn't for me.
And when you were, your circle of friends at the time, obviously you had a circle of friends and they were all starting their new jobs and doing the same things. Would you be talking together at the weekend going, oh, I don't know if I'm going to stay this, or what were your...
Nobody had any options back then. So it was, you either stayed in the job or you emigrated. You went to London.
So if you had a job, people thought you were lucky to have one.
You were really, really lucky to have it. I mean, when I got that job, I mean, it was, you know, you were so lucky to have a job. So, I mean, you did it. You did it. Now, your heart mightn't have been in it, but you did it. So, I was really lucky. I mean, I've been so lucky all through life, because 2 weeks before my year was up, a manager came out of the office and said, we have a sister company, and they're looking for somebody in the office to order all the materials. They built custom-built machines. And they said, would you be interested? I said, yeah. So I went into the office, and there I was, drawing machine parts.
Doing things you like doing.
Doing things I like doing. And that was great. And I really loved it. Did it for 2 years. Unfortunately, the company then closed down because they weren't making money. But we had made machines for a company in Waterford called Bosch and Lomb, who make contact lenses. And when the company I worked for was closing down, they offered me a job up there. So here I was at 25 years of age, going to work for a big American multinational. And I mean, it was like working in a palace.
Really?
You know? Oh, yeah.
You thought I've met it.
Well, they had money, like, so they were able to, I mean...
And were you getting paid more then?
Oh, yeah. And they were giving you bonuses at Christmas, and they were, you know, they were having office parties and like Bosch and Lomb was, they make contact lenses, and there was, I suppose, about, when I started, there was about 200 people there, of which 180 would have been ladies, women, did most of the work. They always do most of the work. But anyway, so here I was blessed among women. And
one of the men among many women.
Yeah, and it was great. And I had some fun there. I really did, you know, because my job was to, you know, if there was any defects in the lenses, I had to go find out what was causing the defects. So it meant going around speaking to all these different people every day and having the crack and...
Endless opportunities.
Yeah, and doing your job at the same time. So
you pretty much had the perfect job, perfect situation for a 25-year-old.
Yep. It was great.
So how long did you stay at that?
It only lasted a year. Because of all these, you know, big companies, they all have budgets, and, you know, when you're in, you're temporary, and then after the year, they had to review their budget. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough money to keep Brian employed. So they said, look, and my heart was broke because I had worked really worked hard,
yeah, you
know, to make an impression. But here they were saying, no, we don't have a budget, so you have to go.
Did that hit you hard?
Yeah. But luckily enough, it wasn't for too long, because they had another company in Waterford called Ray-Ban, who made Ray-Ban sunglasses, and they were looking for a supervisor. So I went for that job and I got it. So I went straight from one to the other. And this was just an awesome job. I was supervisor of a production line of 60 ladies.
Sounds like a dream here so far.
Does it?
Well, it's pretty much 25 years of age.
Yeah.
I worked in the wood. You know what I had to do to look at a lady? I had to go out at night and look for one.
Oh no! I mean, look. They range from, you know, 18 up to 60. You know, so it was, but it was a little bit of heaven, and I had a ball there. It was absolutely brilliant. Now it was hard because I got into trouble a few times over things I said and did, because, you know, like when I was a supervisor, I never felt I was a supervisor. I felt I worked with people. You didn't work for me.
You work with me.
You work with me, and we work together to make it happen. So, like, if they all came in one morning and it was freezing cold, I'd say, look, go get a cup of tea. Whereas in the production line next door, the other supervisor was saying, get your heads down, get the numbers. And next thing they see all my
heading out,
all the girls heading into the canteen from my side. So there's a bit of conflict every now and then. You know, you go out one day. I remember going out one day. There was this girl knitting, and I said, "You're knitting? Yeah. My target done. Yeah, I'm knitting." And he says, "Would you not do a few more?" No, my target's done. I'm knitting. I said, "Oh, come on, do a few more." No, you know, and the union was on our side, so I couldn't do anything. But you had all these incidences, you know. So, I mean, I had 60 ladies. I'd say I had about 20 pregnancies. I was there for 10 years.
You were there for 10 years?
Yeah, I had about 20 pregnancies. So, as I said, I was with the ladies more than their husbands were during that time. Yeah. So, you know, when people ask me why I never got married, I suppose there's probably one of the reasons. I've been through so many pregnancies, I suppose.
None of them were yours, though?
What?
Were any of them yours?
What do you mean none of them?
Were any of the babies yours?
No.
Well, then you haven't really had the full, you
know. I had them for 8.5 hours a day.
So stressed you out?
Well, it was very stressful. You know, because I had to make sure that these, you know, we had delivered these amount of glasses every day. And, you know, when you have, you know, one lady came in, she used to say, I have to go see my doctor. And this was every week. And I'm going, like, every week?
And during this time, where were you living?
I was living at home.
Still?
Yeah.
And had you any girlfriends?
Yeah.
Long term?
Yeah, but you know, once it started getting a bit serious, I kind of started, you know, and pulling back. Like
during that time, were you religious? Like, were you?
Well, I went to mass every Sunday, but was I particularly religious? No. But I always, you know, kept, you know, the routine and going to mass and all that. But like I worked there for 10 years. I finished there in about 1990. And again, that company closed down. So I was left, you know, unemployed for a week because another company you probably know called Waterford Crystal.
Yeah.
It's a huge big company in Waterford. And when I was growing up, that was the dream job to have, was to work in Waterford Crystal, because their wages were so good and they had, you know, I mean, they had so many, you know, opportunities there. So I got a phone call and asked would I go work for them? Would I go for an interview? And I said, what kind of job is it? And they said, well, we have a new computer system in. It's to track, you know, the development of new products. They were developing something like 200 to 400 new products a year, and they had to have a system to track it. So they got in this system, but it had failed, and they wanted somebody to come in and get it up and going. So I said, this isn't my field of expertise at all, but sure, look, I went for the interview. And I hate sitting across from people like this, because this is kind of the defense. This is the defense position. I prefer to be sitting there. But anyway, I went to this interview, and there was 3 people there, and I was here.
Yeah.
And they started interviewing me, and they started asking all these really difficult, awkward questions, like how would you deal with this situation, and how would you deal with that situation? How would you deal with this person? How would you deal with that person? And they were getting very aggressive.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How many people on the panel? 3.
Getting very aggressive. And I sat there and I answered their questions. But after 4 or 5 of really kind of aggressive, I started laughing. I just couldn't stop laughing. I said, listen, to get anything done, you work with people and you speak to them. And that's how you get the job done. You work with them to get the job done. And I said, I don't like the way you're asking questions, because that's not the way I operate. So I just left, and I said, that's it. That's the end of that. And following day, they rang me up and said they wanted me to start work.
Oh, so they were testing you to see if you were a monkey?
Well, I asked him a few months later, you know, how did I get the job? And he said, because you're the only one who laughed. He said, everybody else just got very aggressive and, you know.
That's cool.
But what's the point in getting aggressive and nasty? And I mean, life's too short.
Have you ever got aggressive and nasty?
Oh yeah.
So sometimes you need to be aggressive and nasty.
Oh, you do, yeah. It takes a lot, though. It takes a lot to rile me.
So how long did you stay in Waterford Crystal, and did you like that job?
10 years. 10 years. And again, I'm really lucky. There never was a day I didn't want to go to work. I loved the work there. And this was my ideal job because I was working with people across the whole factory, and you met so many people every day. And there was nothing you couldn't achieve by talking to people and, talking it through with them and getting things done.
And were you the type of boss people came to tell their problems?
Well, I wasn't the boss. I was just part of a team. Okay. And I was in an office with, 5 or 6, again, mostly women, which was great. We had some great laughs. But because I was working, developing all these new products, I used to work with a lot of people from America, marketing departments in America and in Ireland. And, my job was to say, this is how much this product is going to cost you, and this is how much the box is going to cost you, and this is what we can sell it for, and you had to work with the designers, and you had to work with all these different marketing people to get the job done. But all through the time, I was working with people who were incredibly wealthy. You've heard of just all these big designers, okay? And I just used to meet them, and one thing struck me about them: they all seemed miserable. They really did. I always remember this lady. Her name was Isabella Blow, and Philip Tracy, the hat designer. He was her muse. Okay, so he worked with her the whole time. This was a project, like he would and Isabel would have worked together. And she was a little bit eccentric. Like she'd come into work, she was into hats because Philip Tracy. And she'd come into work, she could have a Brillo pad stuck on her head as a hat or a baseball. But she struck me as a very sad kind of person. You couldn't please these people. All these designers are very hard to please. They'll always want something that they can't have. And, that lady subsequently committed suicide like a few months later, and we were just gobsmacked, like, because she had, in our opinion, she had everything you possibly want in life, and here she was, obviously miserable behind it all, And I used to meet the buyers from Macy's and Bloomingdale's, and they'd walk into the showrooms and they'd be demanding this, demanding that, and they were never happy. You could see in their faces they just weren't happy, and that kind of made me think about life, like, what's life all about? How come these people seem to have everything, and yet they're very, downbeat and miserable and giving out the whole time and never happy? And, it just made me think.
And at that time, what were your hobbies? What were you doing outside work?
Oh, I was cycling around the country. I used to love cycling. So a Sunday morning cycling, that was my
And were you
race.
Happy? Or did you think there was something?
No, I was always happy. And because I had a good job, I had a nice car. Not as nice as yours now, but I had a nice car.
I've had a good few piles.
And, a nice house and lovely girlfriends and lovely holidays. I've traveled the world. But behind it all, like, there was, just something niggling at the back of my head the whole time. Is this what life is all about? And why do I not want to get serious in a relationship? Why do I not want to get married? Because I love kids, my nephews and nieces, they're absolutely fantastic. Like, so why didn't I want that? And then, like, I was in an office with, people, and suddenly you realize, like, they're always coming up to me with problems, maybe because it was part of my job, but, they were coming to me with personal problems and asking me, what did I think? And I'm saying, well, okay, why are they asking me all these things? And then, for some reason, when I was traveling to work in Waterford Crystal, we were on flexi time. Okay, so you didn't have to be working till 9 o'clock as the latest you could be in. And I'm an early riser, so I used to be going through Waterford early in the morning, and there's lots of churches in Waterford, and I used to be passing these churches. And one morning I just said, I'm going in here, and I went in, and just sat there for about 10 minutes, and that was it. Next morning I went and said, I'll go in again, and I just.
But what were you feeling? Like, what was when you were sitting there for 10 minutes?
I used to sit there going like, what's this all about? And at that time it was all about the church scandals and the abuse crisis and all that. And I used to go in and just sit there in silence going, like, what's life all about? And
you were having an internal dialogue.
Yeah.
So did someone answer?
No, it was all questions. And, then I started thinking about, when I was younger and the Mass itself, like what's the attraction with Mass? When I was younger, I used to be bored, but now I was like, how can they expect us to believe that God is present in a little, piece of bread? And why are we celebrating all these different things and the way we do? And, and there was always why? And at the same time, like, I was working and I saw these wealthy people who seemed to be miserable. And then I had, I was enjoying work and like, it was just, what's it all about? Where can I get answers to these questions? And
I think everyone wants to know that.
Well, my answer was, nowhere really. So, I just left it at that, But there was something that attracted me to going to Mass in the mornings. And after a few years, I realized that was the best part of my day, because that just set me up for the rest of the day. So that no matter what happened during the day, I could the following morning just sit there and think about it.
What were you thinking about?
Whatever issues were going on during the day.
Are you thinking, sitting in there, or are you talking to God?
You're sitting in there thinking. And you might say, well, now, God, where are you in all of this? Are you there at all? How can you expect, us to believe in you if, it was just all questions. But for some reason, it set me up for the day. And I can't explain it, okay? And you'd meet people there, you'd meet a lot of elderly people there in the morning. I would be the only young person there. And, you meet young, elderly people there. And they were just so genuine and friendly and comfortable in their skin. They knew who they were and they knew who God was. And I just felt I was an outsider, but in a way I wanted to be like them, to have a sense of God and belonging and
purpose.
And yeah, exactly. Meaning. So look, that went on for a good few years. And in 1999, the factory in Waterford Crystal closed down. We all went into work in January, and there was these Delight, an accountancy firm, had been sent in to close down the factory. And I just saw what they did to all those people. Like, here were people who had been working in a factory for 40 and 50 years. And, they put a nice face on it, but really, they were only treating them like numbers, Sorry, we have to leave you go. There you go. There's your fuel bob and off you go. And that was it, And I said, like, it's not right to treat people like that. They're not numbers, like they're people. And, so I was totally disillusioned with these big corporations. And I was saying, do I really want to spend my life working for somebody just to make a profit? Because that's all they're interested in at the end of the day, is making money. That's all they're interested in. They might pretend that they're interested in you, but they're not really. It's all about the bottom line at the end of the day. So, when that happened, I kind of said, well, do I really want to spend the rest of my life working for, these big corporations, making money for them? And, they're only going to use me really at the end of the day. And I had all these questions about life and about God. And I had all this thing about, I don't want to get married. Is there something wrong with me? Or, and how come everybody comes to me with their problems? And I forgot to tell you, all through this, I had an elderly neighbor, and she was one of my best friends. Like, she was in her 80s, and I used to bring her off every Saturday to get her hair done and do lottery tickets. And I was going to say, how come that's part of my life? Here I am, in my 30s and 40s, and one of my best friends is an 80-year-old lady. But so all these things go around in your brain. And I said, where can I get answer? Or, where can I get some kind of, answers for all these kind of things that are in my head? And there's nowhere to go. There was nowhere to go.
What were your friends saying to you?
What?
When you'd say these things to your friends, what would they say?
Wouldn't say to them.
Why?
What?
Why?
Because to me, it was a personal thing, and it wasn't something that nobody else would have an interest in it anyway, because most others were, getting on with their life. They had kids, they had families, they had their careers, so, but, and whereas I was enjoying it all, don't get me wrong, I there wasn't a day I didn't enjoy life, but I always had this kind of a niggle at the back of my brain, what's it all about? What's life all about? So I kind of said, well, do you know what? I'd love to study philosophy and theology. Okay. Here I was 45 years of age now. And I said, okay, where can I do that? And Maynooth, that's where you go. Okay. And it turned out, I just Googled Maynooth, and it turned out to be the year of vocations. I didn't know such a thing existed. And I said, okay, they have an open day up there. I go up and have a look. All right. So I snuck up. I didn't want anyone to know I was going. So I snuck up to Maynooth. It was on a Sunday afternoon. Hadn't a clue where I was going. And went in, and I just sat down in the back of the hall, and these three lads got up and started talking about their vocations, and they were studying to be priests. And one of them, he turned out to be a farmer from County Offaly, and they were just really, really interesting. Another guy was from Donegal, and he had gone in at 18 years of age. They were all shapes and sizes, but it was a hall full of men, thinking of becoming priests. So I just found it very interesting. So,
and is it a hall full of men that have the same questions, kind of lost philosophically, or wondering in life all these questions? So it's a whole group of men.
No, you had all kinds. You had those who were very traditional and would have been they would have been brought up Catholic, and they would have, come from a very religious family, and that's just what you do. And that's the way I think it was in the past here in Ireland. That's just what you do. You go to Kieran's College and you become a priest. I think the tradition was the oldest son got the farm. The next son then went to become a priest, and then the rest took after themselves. But no, there was all shapes and sizes. So I said, look, I'll never get an answer to these questions unless I go and study. So I decided to give up work, and I went to my local parish priest, Father Pat Comerford, who died just a few weeks ago. Wonderful priest. And he said, leave it with me. And I said, are you shocked? And he said, no. No, how could you not be shocked? I said, here I am, 45 years of age. Anyway, I went to Pat, and the next week he said, the bishop wants to meet you. So I got in the car with Pat, and we drove up to the bishop. I didn't know where the bishop was. I remember saying to Pat in the car, Father Pat said, what do I call the bishop? Do I say bishop or your lordship, or do I kiss a ring, or what do I do? And he said, no, just call him Bishop. So I went in, and he had lunch for us, and it was a real Father Ted moment, because the big long table, and he was at one end and I was at the other, and Father Pat was in the middle, and he had a housekeeper who served up the lunch, and Bishop Freeman was at one end and the other, and we were making small talk all along. And then when we finished eating, he said, why do you want to become a priest? And I said to him more or less what I've said to you. But that week, an awful stories about abuse had come out, and I went on a rant, and I said, but look, I don't think after what's happened in the news this week that I really want to do this, And I said, it's absolutely atrocious, and it's just shocking, and like, I don't know if I want to be a part of that. And he just sat in silence for a few moments, and then he said to me, Brian, do you believe in love? And I said, I do. And then he said, then you're doing the right thing. So that kind of left me speechless. So I went home and I thought about it, and I said, well, I'll give it a go, because otherwise I'd never have answers to these questions. So
did you discuss it with anyone other than yourself?
No, something I wanted to do, and there was no point discussing it with everybody else. But I told my father and mother, and they weren't. I thought they weren't too surprised. Okay, and I went around and told all my friends that I had made the decision to go, and I don't think they were too surprised. But I always remember going up for the first year. I thought I was going to Maynooth. I was going to be locked in a prison for 6 years, because you hear all these stories about seminaries, and I went up, and because you're given a little room.
Yeah, first day in. Yeah. What happens?
First day in, I met at the door by a guy who's in second year.
Take all your clothes.
Huh?
Did they give you like a robe? Take all your belongings off you?
No. You drove up my car, walked in. Guy there, can I give you a hand? Yeah. He told me he's in second year, and I said, what's it like? And he said, it's great. I said, what did you do before you came in here? He says, I'm a doctor. He said, you're a doctor? Yeah, he said, I was a doctor in Glasgow and Derry, and now I'm doing this. That's grand. Next fella I met was a hotel manager from Birr. Next fella I met was a bartender from Dubai. Next fella I met was a greenkeeper from the K Club. So there were all these guys, like, which I would never have met, only for we were all in the one class. And I mean, it was mind-boggling the amount. There was 34 of us starting the one day. One of the guys was actually an extra in Hollywood. He'd been in The West Wing and Desperate Housewives, and he had some journey. Like, I mean, he had been searching for answers, and he did everything. I mean, he worked in movies, he worked in Disneyland, he worked at Calvin Klein, he did all these jobs looking for answers, So I couldn't believe it, because up to then I felt I was the only person in the world with all these kind of questions. But no, here was a bunch of fellas like with the same kind of
So you
mindset.
Go in on your first day. What are you learning? What's the lecturer saying?
You do 2 years of philosophy, and then you do 3 years of theology. And philosophy is the study of wisdom, what life is all about, all the big questions in life. Does God exist? What is love? What is beauty?
And
why are we here?
What philosophers do they reference the most?
Everyone, all of them. Aristotle, Plato, Kant, you name it. It's every one of them. And it was great. Like, I mean, it was straight out of Harry Potter. Like, the way in Harry Potter you see these big halls and all these professors, and here I was in the middle of all this. It was just awesome. And like, we weren't on. It wasn't just seminarians, the guys studying for priests, we were in classes with the third level students. So like we were in we were in classes with 19 and 20-year-olds. It was a great experience.
And how does the philosophy and the bleed with religion?
Well, unless you're satisfied that there is a God and God exists, and I mean, what's the point in studying theology, which is study of God, unless you're convinced that He does exist? And I was really blessed because, I mean, to have 2 years to study philosophy was just awesome. It was just awesome. And like, I mean, your lecturers, they're not all Catholic. I mean, one of our lecturers was a complete atheist. The other was, Church of Ireland. They were all different denominations. And like, people think when you go to Maynooth, you're going to be brainwashed. It was totally opposite. Like, you were listening to all these different scenarios and all these different viewpoints, and it was just really, really great.
When you were there, did you have a moment?
No.
Of clarity? No.
I just felt this is what I had always wanted to do, and here I was doing it. And not only that, but I was doing it with 34 other, well, there was about 130 but 130 other guys who had the same mindset as me, whom I'd never met before. Like, because when you're down in Waterford on your own, I mean, who else is going to have that mindset? Maybe there are people, I don't know. But here I was with other, men who had that same mindset. And like their ages went from 18 all the way up. The oldest was nearly in his 60s, so they were all different guys, like all different backgrounds, all different, viewpoints. I mean, one of the guys, he said God, even after doing 5 years of study, was still convinced God was the man on a beard floating on a cloud. And like, I mean, I just couldn't believe he still had that. But that's the way some people are, So, but it was just a great experience and when you're, in a class with younger people as well, you get to see how they think and what their mindset is. And it was just great.
So did you get to a stage where you were, I want to do this. I want to help people. I want to be there for people. I want to be a priest for that reason. Or was it, God wants me to, this is my path. This is what I was born for.
You know yourself, okay? I say to all young people, like, there's nothing worse in life than, doing something that you're unhappy doing. Like, everybody has a vocation in life, okay? And once you find that vocation, you know what's right for you. I mean, for me, nurses are absolutely amazing. A good nurse is just amazing. But that's a vocation. You have to be built for that kind. Some people aren't built to be nurses, and straight away when you meet them, but a good nurse is just, and there's so many of them, they're just absolutely, same with doctors, same with everything in life, When you find what's right for you, you'll know it. And that's what you should be doing.
So when did you know?
I think when I went to Maynooth, I just felt all these things had fallen into place. This is because I was enjoying it.
Felt like you belonged.
Felt like I belonged. And like after 2 years of philosophy, you have to make a decision. Are you going to go and study theology, or are you going to, fall out? But I was enjoying myself so much. But like when you study theology, there's also another year where you go and do practical work. So they send you out to a parish to work. They send you to a hospital to work. And I have to say, of all the years in Maynooth, the best year was the year that you were sent out to do the practical work, because you really got first-hand experience of what it was like to be on the front line. So I was working in University Hospital Cork as a chaplain. And like you were in A&E every day. There was tragedy, and you were there, I mean, that really, cements, if that's what you want to do, just to be there for people when they need somebody to listen to and talk to.
That's what I meant to ask you. So is it very difficult? Does it weigh on you? Say, as a priest, you were there when my father was passing.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for that, because it's only when you're there and when you go in for your mum and for everyone, the comfort that gives. But I was thinking after, like, you do that all the time. So, like, that's what you do. So, like, you're saying last rites for people, you're visiting people when they're sick, you're doing their funerals.
Yeah.
You're getting to know them at their worst time.
Yeah.
At people's hardest time.
Yeah.
How does that not weigh on you?
It does weigh on you. It weighs on you big time. Because, you know, people forget that you're a human too, and you have family and you have friends, and bad things happen to them as well. So, like, you know, when I'm, you know, with a family, say at a funeral, it could be very similar to something that I've had in my own family. So it really, you know, you have to get your balances in life right, you know, and you see, when you go to Maynooth, you're not just studying, okay? And this is what I think is important, I think, for everybody, not just guys studying to be a priest, but when you go up there, they form you in 4 ways: spiritually, humanly, intellectually, and pastorally. So academics is only one part of it.
What's humanly?
Knowing who you are as a person. Because if you don't know who you are, how are you ever going to help anybody else? So, like, who are you, David?
I'm a father.
No, but who are you?
David Cuddy.
But
if you were to ask me what I am, I define myself as a father and a husband and a brother.
Okay.
I don't know how to define myself any other way.
Okay. Well, look, take away, like, your name, okay?
Yeah.
So you don't have a name. You're not David Cuddy. That's given to take that away, all right? And take away all your designer David Cuddy gear, and then take away your family.
Mm-hmm.
And who are you?
I have thought about this a lot. Like, I genuinely believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
What does that mean?
It means that I don't feel like, when I'm talking to myself, say like when you're having a conversation with someone,
yeah,
or say when I'm having a conversation with myself, I have a conversation with myself. Like, I have an inner voice, and the more you think about these things, the more they freak me out, because I used to think religion was same as you. You didn't really think about it too much, and then when you get older, you're there thinking, is there something after this, or is this real, or what's real? And like you just feel like you're not really, this isn't real. This isn't exactly what it is. There's more. There's so much more.
Yeah, but like, who are you?
I'm just a man.
Yeah, but what's a man?
That's what we are.
But what's that?
I don't know, you have me stumped. You
What?
tell me.
A lot of people, okay, I wonder where that comes from. Where's that energy coming from? Like, and for me, there's only one answer to that. And for me, now, you might disagree with me, but for me, there's only one source of that energy, and that's God. Your religion is your life and how you live it. Okay? So that's what religion is. It's your life and how you live it and how you practice, all right? You know, you hear people saying, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I mean, to me, that's a cop-out, because your religion is your life, you know, and how you live it. So, like, what does it mean to be spiritual? Does it mean to be absorbed in yourself? Or does it mean to be absorbed in God? And living as God wants you to live, which is...
I think it's because it's so confusing.
It's not, it's simple.
Well, it's not, because I'm confused.
Okay, how are you confused?
Right, so as I get older, right, and as life, as it does, it takes things away, right? So the older you get, life takes things away, and you experience more things. But the more that you experience, the bulk of them seem to be hardships. The bulk of the things that you experience are hard. They're tough.
Yes.
It's constant suffering.
Yes.
And you have to know that life is constant suffering. And then you're there thinking, what is the point? Oh God, all these things happen.
Yeah.
And if you think about that too much, you're there thinking, like what you were thinking, what's the point of it all? What's the reason? But deep down, if you really take away all the rubbish, and that you only figure that out when you go through something hard, all the stuff doesn't matter. Like what you said, none of it matters except for the people that you love and how you feel yourself. Am I conducting myself the way I should be? Am I happy with how I'm conducting myself? Am I taking on what I should be taking on and carrying it?
Okay.
And that's what I feel I'm doing God's work in the devil's playground by just taking on my little burdens, pushing through. And that's how.
And like, I mean, everybody's different now. I mean, like, I can't convert anyone. The only person you can convert is yourself. All right. And for me, what gives me meaning, everybody needs a well to go to. You know, you need a well to go to nourish your body, but you need a well to go to nourish your spirit as well. You know, and lots of people now, I mean, Brezzy goes while swimming, that nourishes his spiritual life. People do yoga, that nourishes their spiritual life. I go to God. And like, I mean, I have a choice. I can become a Buddhist, I can become a Hindu, I can become Muslim. But for me, nothing can surpass, you know, Jesus and Christianity, because, I mean, we have real presence in our lives. And that's what nourishes me, and that's what keeps me going. Like, we're going to Christmas. I mean, we believe in a God who came on earth as a baby in a smelly old stable and who asked us to look after him. What does that say about our God? Like, he asked us to look after him. And look how he suffered. But he guarantees us, if we strive to follow him, and we will all suffer, it's part of life, you can't avoid it. But if we continue to try and follow him and his way of life, he guarantees us, you know, something spectacular afterwards.
So, same question to you. Who are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not Brian Griffin and Family Guy.
Yeah.
I'm Brian Griffin, and I'm a child of God, and that's the only answer I can give that gives me such great hope and joy, and you know, no matter what happens in life, I can fall back on him. And
have you had a moment where you felt God?
Yes and no. It's hard to explain. It's just a feeling you get, you know.
Do you believe you're you, or something controlling you?
Nothing controlling me. God gives everyone free will, you know. You know, you have free will. He lets you off to do whatever. But I mean, he's always there for you. You know, he knows you're human. We all make mistakes. He's always there to say, look, I'm still with you through it all, and pick yourself up and keep going and do your best.
What do you think happens when you die?
What happens when I die? I wish I knew. Everybody wants to answer that question.
What do you think happens?
But the answer is, you know, don't worry about it. Trust in me. You'll be fine. I love you. You're grand. I mean, isn't that awesome?
I think the whole thing's awesome. And the older I get, the more confused I am over how awesome the whole thing is.
Yeah, well, you should be confused, because it's not, it's simple in many ways, but it's complex if you wanted to. But basically comes down to what I just said there. You know, that's as simple as it is. You choose to believe that, or you can choose to throw it away. Most people throw it away, but I can't understand how you throw something like that away. I mean, it's just... It's
funny.
It's actually too good to be true, but that's what gives me, you know, the nourishment and strength to do what I do.
You hear a lot of people, and in the modern age, when people let go of God and let go of religion, and they say, "Oh, I wouldn't kill anyone, or I wouldn't do bad things because I'm a moral person. I don't need religion to do that." Which I think is a little bit of a cop out, because when you see at the start of the pandemic or anything like that, they were killing themselves over toilet paper.
That's true, yeah.
And I do think it's like that Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, "If God is dead, be careful what replaced it."
Yeah.
Because I just find it, when you did theology,
yes,
and you were reading about the Old Testament or New Testament, the Old Testament, the more that you read it and listen about it, it's an amazing bunch of books. When you think it was written 2,000 years ago, and the stories will be passed down for what they think 15, 20,000 years.
Yep.
They're a very complex group of books as a moral code. Yes. And if you were living in that time, and we could be in a time like that in the morning, if you don't have individual responsibility, and if you're not a God-fearing man, the world would just be anarchy.
Totally.
And we all, as we get rid of God, whatever God you believe in, you are building castles on sand.
Okay. But for example, if you go to Mass on Sunday, okay, I'll be reading the Gospel. It'll be read in every church around the world. And it's the story of how Mary found herself pregnant and how Joseph had the decision to stand by her or to walk away. Okay. And I had a group of people yesterday, and we sat down, we read that, and we went through it. And it just struck me how real it is, because one of the ladies there, said that relates to her, because, it spoke to her about her daughter who had a miscarriage, and how her lady must have felt in that situation. And another lady said, it speaks to her because, it speaks to every single mother who is pregnant, that story, and how, how they feel when they're in that situation, whether the pregnancy is wanted or not wanted, and how important the man is. I mean, Joseph could have walked away. He didn't. And look, what he was faced with. And, but he stood by Our Lady, and what does that say to young men today? It says how important it is to do the right thing, And I'm a priest, and I hear a lot of confessions, and I hear a lot of ladies who are in a bad way, and rightly so, because of things that have happened to him. And it's nearly always, where is the man? And is he standing by you? And it's always a case of no. But just how relevant is that gospel to life today? And it's so relevant. And if everybody, could appreciate it and read it like that, I think, it will make a huge difference to the world we live in and people's lives.
And if everyone was just nicer to each other.
Well, yeah, if everybody was nicer, but the reality is we're all human, and, we all have faults and failings, and, but the challenge for us,
what do you think the biggest challenge is for Christians
in the world today? It's the same as it was back thousands of years ago. It's to try to, make the world a better place. You read in the Gospels, I didn't understand any of this till I went and studied it, but you talk about the kingdom of God. It's in the Bible several times in the New Testament. What's the kingdom of God? It's not the hereafter. It's right here, but it's not yet. God wants us to make it a kingdom of God. He wants this earth to be a kingdom of God, where everybody, is doing their best by each other. And it's there in many ways. There's goodness out in the world. There really is a goodness in the world. Unfortunately, it doesn't get as much publicity as the negative things, but there is a goodness there, and, there's so many good people. There's so many good families. it's all about your attitude as well. You can choose to look at all the bad things in life, or you can choose to look at all the good things in life, and that's the challenge, I think, for us Christians, is to look at the good in everybody.
And as a priest, is your job to get more people into Mass, or to relay God more and Christianity more to people? Like, are you trying to make the flock bigger? Like, is that what's your doctrine as you take on a parish?
My ministry is to serve people. Okay, it's to serve as best I can. Okay, and it's to be there with people when they need me. Okay, and that's my ministry, but I can't do that on my own. Okay, I can only do that with other people, and I can only do it if God is, it's not about me trusting in God. I think it's in God trusting me to do what he wants me to do. So every morning I get up and I just go, God, what have we ahead of us today? Let's go do it.
Are you allowed to do whatever you want? Would you ever be told by the Catholic Church or your bosses, don't do things like that?
No, I mean, like, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the church in a way. We kind of represent humanity. Like, we're all shapes and sizes. We're all come from different lives. We come from different outlooks. That's the worry I had going into Maynooth. Like, was I going to be a square square peg being hammered into a round hole? Was I going to have to conform to be a priest? And it wasn't like that at all. Like, for me, I'm Brian Griffin first, and then I'm a priest. All right. But I have, my way of doing things. The priest down the road will have his way of doing things. Another priest will have their way of doing things. We're like humanity. We just all work together. Everybody has their own talents. Everyone has their own gifts, and together we're in God's hands. And
do you ever wonder why so many people are going to Islam?
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
Well, I was in that situation, back years ago. Like, what's it all about? And I studied other religions, and for me, the only one that had, the rest of them were a bit. They weren't for me.
They're a lot stricter.
It wasn't about strictness. It was about, God, Jesus. For me, he offers everything. He offers like an explanation for everything that happens in life. And it just, that's my wellspring. That's where I go to. The others don't work for me. They work for other people, and that's great. Off you go.
What part of your job do you hate?
What part do I hate? That I don't like.
I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions now, and you're going to have to be ready for them.
There's a loneliness about priesthood.
That's what I was meant to ask you.
There's a loneliness there, yeah. Do
you think it's unfair that you're not allowed to marry?
No, I can totally understand it. It is unfair that there's priests in the church, Anglican Church, who have converted to Catholicism, and they are married, and now they can be introduced into church. So yes, it is. Like, I can only speak for myself. It's not for me, because I don't know where I get time to look after kids and a wife.
Sure, none of us have time.
Have you not?
No one has time.
Well, anyway,
you just make time.
Yeah, but there's lots of issues there, that would need to be sorted out first. Yes.
Do you hate Protestants?
Love them, because they're the most. They really understand their Bible and what it's all about. Us Catholics, who reads the Bible? Well, we hear it on Sundays. That's grand. That'll do. But they really are into their Gospels, and it's funny because I do meet a lot of Church of Ireland people, as at different things, and they're the same as us. They're no different. They have a different way of looking at things.
Do you look at monks like they're the losers of the religious orders?
That's an awful thing to say.
No, I'm just wondering.
Why would you say that?
I often just wonder that.
I think they're remarkable people. I don't know how they do what they do because that's not for me.
Do you think your soul exists before you're born and continues to exist after?
I wish I could answer that question. I don't know. A lot of our faith is about trusting in God, and we get that from the Gospels. And if that gives me life, yes, I will. I think so. Yes, that's good for me. Eternity is a scary thing.
Terrifying.
It's absolutely terrifying. What's eternity like?
Does it not freak you out that every atom in your body was born in a star?
Where do you get that from?
That every bit of carbon in our body was born in a tiny star.
Well, it's all part of this ginormous energy. I have friends who don't believe in God at all, and you say it all started with a Big Bang, and I keep saying, well, what caused the Big Bang? There's no something had to cause it. I call that something God. I don't know where they're going with it, but I call that something God, and we're all part of that God, and that's just totally awesome.
I think that we're all a little bit of God. And
well, come here. You made your confirmation, didn't you?
Yeah.
What's that about?
I did.
What's
I done that when I was a child.
Yeah. What's confirmation?
That's when you first get God, isn't it?
No, it's not. And you see, you're typical of every. I mean, and me.
I didn't do 2 years in.
No. But you see, we all leave school at 12 years of age having doing religion, and that's where we are spiritually. We're 12-year-olds. And I've been really lucky and blessed that I got to do what I got to do. And I totally understand that, life is so busy for people and there's nowhere to go. And that's the big fault with the church, Catholic Church. They haven't been, educating people through the years. Like they drop it at 12 and then off you go. Instead of saying, no, this is much more profound and meaning and we need to continue this. And that's something I'd like to do.
I think that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life?
What's the meaning of life? Okay. The meaning of life is, it's right there in the Gospels. What's the greatest commandment?
Well, I'd like to think it's thou shalt not kill.
No.
You don't think that's the greatest one? What is?
To love God and your neighbour as yourself. And that's the meaning of life. We live in a society now, and I mean, I was part of it, where it's all about me, what I want and, what gives me, it's all looking inwards. The real key to life is to look out and give and give and give. And the more you give, the more you get back. And I'm a testament to that. The more you give in life, the more you get back. And there's a reluctance in all of us to give. We prefer to, and God love our children with these smartphones and because that's all in our stuff, And God says, no, give. You ever look at the shape of a cross?
Yeah.
Okay, it's vertical. That's about your relationship with God and yourself, and then it's horizontal. And that's the relationship between you and everybody else. And the two of them are just as important as each other. And lots of people aren't doing the horizontal part.
Have you ever done psychedelics?
Music, yeah. No.
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 You should. Do you believe in parallel universe?
Why should I?
Could enhance everything that you already feel.
I'm enhanced enough as it is. Thank you very much.
You don't know until you try.
I'm a pioneer since I was 12. I don't need that stuff. I mean, that's not life. I mean, that gives you a quick thrill. I mean, but that's not living. Come on.
Can all sins be forgiven?
What's a sin, David?
What's a sin?
Yeah.
There's loads of different sins.
No, what's a sin?
Doing something wrong.
What's wrong?
Well, name some of the things in the commandments there. Thou shalt not kill, covet thy neighbour's wife. All those ones.
Yeah, but you're listing off a list of things. Sin basically is turning away from love, turning away from God. So whenever you turn away from God or turn away from love, same thing, love and God are the same thing. That's a sin. All right? I don't like the word sin. I call it turning away from love. So, I mean, you have the 10 Commandments. That was used to by Moses many centuries ago, 4 or 5 centuries ago, to explain to people. I mean, we've come a long way since then, you know, and that's ingrained in us, you know. So,
but do you think by not living the way, not doing all the things that we're supposed to do, like going to mass every week and not doing our confession and not holding strong on the gospels and stuff, are we sinning?
are you like, if you miss mass because you're doing something, I mean, it's in all the gospels, the Good Samaritan. If you walk over somebody in the street to get into mass, I mean, is that right? No, it's not. You look after the person in the street first, you know? And like, people are doing that. You know, people are doing that. You just have to open your eyes to see it. I see so much goodness in Castletown and Camross. It's just remarkable, the things I see.
Do you ever meet people you don't like?
Of course I do. And there's people who don't like me. So the important thing is, you know, let them be. But don't let that weigh in on you. You know, you if they want to be like that, let them off. But you do what's more like...
What things weigh on you?
What things weigh on me?
Yeah, like what things bother you the most now? Say, like, because I often wonder, like, you know, I have a family and I have kids and I have work. So you have your work and you have obviously people that you deal with. There must be parts of your job to go, oh God, I'm so sick of this. I hate this. I wish that wasn't happening.
You get that the whole time. I mean, when a funeral, I mean, the minute I hear a funeral, my heart just sinks, you know, because you're going into, you know, it's an awful situation to be going into. But like...
Have you ever found it hard to get through one?
Oh yeah. Sometimes I say, I can't do this. But you just get up and you do. You get there, you know.
Have you ever felt evil?
I choose to laugh in the face of evil. I really do. But there is evil out there. I mean, there's people that say the devil don't exist, you know, but like I say to them, you know, look at Hitler and World War II. Can you give me a psychological or a philosophical or a reason why that happened? I mean, how did that happen?
Did you ever read that book, Ordinary Men?
No. Who wrote it?
I can't remember, but it documented how ordinary people that had ordinary lives ended up murdering people in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And it's like peer pressure and people not wanting to...
But again, it's all about people not knowing who they are and who God is. And once you know who you are and who God is, you can't go wrong.
Because we all have the potential to be evil.
Yeah. Everybody has. Everybody. I mean, you're not human. What's the first thing Pope Francis said when he became Pope? The first thing he said, I'm a sinner.
Have you ever met the Pope?
No.
Do you think of him as divine?
No, he's human. How could you think the Pope is divine?
Because
he's a human being.
Is he not the...
He's God. He's Jesus' representative on the earth.
What does that mean, though?
He represents Jesus.
So is he closer to Jesus?
He's the same as everybody else. He's human. He has to get up every day. He has to make a choice. You have to make a choice. And he's been chosen to represent Jesus on this earth. And he does that to the best of his ability. But at the end of the day, he's a man the same as everybody else.
If I could grant you one wish, what would it be?
One wish? Gee, Mike, that's a hard one.
Any wish.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I don't live in the land of wishes. I
just gave you a wish. I gave you a wish.
Yeah, it was not real.
What's your favorite story in the Bible?
My favorite story in the Bible, there's so many of them. I think it's the one about Peter denying Jesus 3 times. And the reason is because it just shows that no matter what we do here on earth, no matter how broken we are, no matter how bad we might feel about things we're done, God will always be by our side, and he'll always forgive anything that we've done. And, that might sound corny and it might sound alien to many people, because we're currently living in a world where nobody's ever forgiven for anything, and you're cut off or you're cancelled if you do anything wrong. Where does that get you? That only builds anger, and that's not God. God forgives. God always sees the good in everybody. We mightn't see it, God does. And when you know that, that'll get you through anything.
Have you ever performed an exorcism?
No, but I've had very strange incidents, and I don't know many priests who have. I know that in each diocese there is a priest assigned to do that kind of work, and they have done it. But no, I just had some, people contacting me about things that were happening them, and some of them had to do with psychedelics.
Can do that.
I had a phone call there a few weeks ago. This man, he was in an awful state on the phone. My girlfriend she's been poked and prodded by a spirit, and Father, what will I do? And there's shoes and clothes being thrown at us. Oh my God, what we're going to do? And I just said, look, go to your, where are you? Go to your nearest priest right now. Just go there now. And they said they would. And the next day I rang them up and said, how are you? What? They couldn't even remember ringing me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did the
And you know what? I was actually genuinely concerned and worried about them for a whole night. I got no sleep over it. And
why did the Corinthians never write back?
They didn't have to. You see, you're forgetting, you're talking about a world where paper was papyrus, it was expensive. Nobody had it, it was all word of mouth. It was not the done thing.
What do you think? How would you define freedom?
Freedom is knowing who you are and knowing your place in the world, and knowing who God is. That's freedom. People see religion and faith as restrictive. It's not. It gives you such great freedom. It really does. Because you know your place in the world.
Everyone...
you hear people, I want control over this and I want control over that. At the end of the day, we have no control over anything. You can be hit by a bus in the morning.
We have no control.
You could get any disease. We have no control whatsoever. We're all in God's hands, And by God, he tests some of us. He really does. But look.
When was the last time you lost your faith?
It happens a bit. It happens a good bit. Even as a priest. Because things happen. And you say, God, where are you in all this? What's going on? You can't have faith unless you've doubt as well. Two working hand in hand.
Is it hard to
It's healthy to doubt.
Is it hard to move from one parish to another?
Really difficult. I mean, I've done a lot of things in life, but moving parish was just probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And the reason is because my last parish was my first parish. I was there for 7 years, and I was there with wonderful priests and wonderful people, and they were all my friends, and to have to up and leave them was just, and then go into completely different, scenario. But look, that's part of everybody's life. I mean, you've had to up and move house a few times. I mean, there's young people who have to move countries. They have to move. It's just part of life. So you just get on with it. And it's great. You can look at it negatively or you can look at it positively. But when you look at it positively, you're fine.
Yeah, it seems like a hard thing to do. I think that would be very, very difficult.
Yeah, but when you were welcomed, like I have been in my new parish, I mean, it's.
Have you
great.
ever been absolutely gobsmacked in confession? You don't have to tell me what it was.
Yes.
Well, have you ever
Yes, I have.
And
constantly. But I think after a few years, you're just not shocked anymore.
what if someone comes in and says, I murdered someone?
Yes.
Do you have to go to the guards?
Yeah. Well, look, there's a seal of confession. All right. You're not supposed to reveal what's said. But I would say to that person, like, why are you here? Because, if you want forgiveness, the two of us will walk straight out of this box and we'll go to the guards, because that's the only way you're getting forgiveness here.
Do you believe in aliens?
Do I believe in aliens? Well, the universe is so vast, there's bound to be some kind of life on some other planet, yes. But look, it's just so infinite. I mean, think about it, David. Like, we're just like little ants on this earth, and this earth is just a minuscule in the universe. Like, it's just incredible. Like,
I think about it all the time.
It's just awesome. I mean,
if it's infinite, me and you were probably having a conversation somewhere else. It's the exact same conversation.
You see, the problem is we have people on this earth who think they can squeeze all that into their brain. Richard Dawkins is so convinced that God doesn't exist. I mean, how can anybody squeeze God into their brain? He's just so vast. He created all this. That's not going to happen. So, at the end of the day, the whole thing's a mystery, and you can choose to embrace that mystery, or you can say, no, it's just meaningless. It's about nothing. We're just a lump of cells. I mean, what do you choose? I choose my way. I can understand why you choose the other way, but I mean, where's the life in that? God wants you to live life to the full. And how do you do that? By having a meaning. And, God has given us a menu. There's all different religions, and like, you can choose whichever one you want, but you choose the one that gives you meaning. And when you find that, that's your source, and that will get you through.
Are you afraid of dying?
I'm afraid of the process of dying. Dying itself, no, I can't wait to see what happens next.
That's cool.
And there's a bit of fear there as well, because there's always fear of the unknown. But based on what I've, studied and what I've seen, and like, I see a lot of people dying. And it's a strange thing to say, but you do see some inspirational deaths, and those are always the ones, believe it or not, people who have had faith. And maybe you could argue it's a blind faith, but I mean, it's incredible the way some people die. They're just, I mean, words just won't explain it. It's just awesome.
Whenever I meet someone like you, a priest, and I know you because I've you were there when my dad passed, and we've got to know each other, and I feel like I can talk to you.
Yeah.
So you're probably the first priest that I've known that I can actually have a conversation with, and I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like I want to know loads of things. It's why I do this.
Yeah.
But when I look at someone like you, I would wish that you'd have family and stuff. When you're there for all these people when they're dying, and I do often wonder, when you go home, do you go, who's going to be with me?
I have the most amazing family.
Yeah, but if you're old.
When I'm old, I'll have the most amazing family, because, wherever that may be, whether it's with my nephews or nieces, or whether it's in a nursing home, they're the most amazing people working in nursing homes. I mean, I walk into a nursing home now, and some of them, I say, I want to come here, because they make it such a family unit. They're incredible. Have you been to nursing homes?
My wife works in a nursing home.
Yeah. The staff there are just awesome in most of them. And I'd have no problem. I think, people, there's a goodness in people, and that will always be there.
Brian, no, I'd talk to you for another 2 hours. I still don't know who I am.
Well,
but I get there.
Everyone has to figure that out for themselves. What's blocking you?
I don't know.
You see,
My inner dialogue, I think.
no.
No.
You see, you have to make the jump.
To jump to where?
You have to make the jump. You have to make what the Kierkegaard said, the leap. You have to make the leap of faith. Okay? And you see, God created you. Okay? Or something created you. Okay? I choose to believe God created you. All right? And he gave you a body and he gave you a mind, but the most important part is your heart or your soul, because that helps you make sense of this world we're living in. Helps you make sense of life. And nowadays we're really good at looking after our bodies, and we're really good at looking after our brains.
Speak for yourself, Brian.
But look,
your body's a temple, right? I see you in the gym, right, working out. My body's a temple, but one of them temples the monkey shit on in India.
Yeah, but anyway, look, your most important part is your spirit.
Yeah.
All right? And God wants you to look after all three, you know. And if you don't look after your spirit, what's going to happen? It's a downhill process, I think. And I only speak from my experience. So it's important to look after it, and you find what makes that tick, all right? But God works through the heart. He just doesn't, you won't get God in your brain only. He mainly works through here. And you have to give him that. If you don't give him that, it's never going to make sense. All right? So, but I can't do that for you. You have to do that. But if you give God your heart, everything will fall into place.
And on that bombshell, Brian, thanks a million for coming on.
Sure.
And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas.
And you too. All right.
Call up. We'll play the Exorcist game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's too scary to play. We'll play the other one. I can't wait to slap.
You'll have to come on again, and we'll talk a little bit more about philosophy, because I'm glad to know. I'll find myself eventually.
Yeah, but just leave you one thing.
Yeah.
The more you learn, the less you know.
That's a fact.
That's the fact. And you can talk to the.
And I think we're learning that as a species as well.
Yeah, and if you look at the lives of all these philosophers, they were all weird in so many ways. You know, they all had problems and issues, and I think maybe that's what caused them to force them to think those ways. But no, the more you learn in life, the less you know, and the more humble you become.
Brilliant.
All right.
Thanks a million.
You're welcome.
See you, Brian.
See ya. Bye-bye.